This is what I'm very interested in seeing.
Yes, this is the go-to moment.
Dude, look at that.
What the heck? High mileage LS and the bearings look new.
Wow.
There's still a little bit of coating on the skirt, anti-wear protection in that.
That's unbelievable. And the bearing still has a little bit of crush. So we've got a winner. Some places it really looks like an engine with 100,000 plus miles, like the groove behind the main bearing. A thorough cleaning in the jet washer will knock off years worth of grime. We'll run ours at 150 degrees for an hour or so. With all the heavy stuff removed, we'll sand all the gasket surfaces with 180 grit sandpaper. We're just cleaning the surface, not removing material. On the deck, we'll use a flat, long bar to sand evenly across the entire surface. Keeping with the budget theme, we are just going to ball hone the cylinders. This hone is 320 grit for going easy on the cylinder finish. First, lube the cylinders with some 10W30 and get going. We'll do roughly 20 strokes per cylinder, making sure not to stop in one place while the drill is running. Keep the drill at moderate speed and try to achieve around a 40-degree crosshatch angle. Now we're left with a reconditioned surface that should help seal up our ring package.
We just finished washing the oil pump that came out of our Budget 5.3, so now it's time to do some budget tech on the pump itself. Now these steps are going to improve the pump's lubrication, pressure, as well as the longevity, even though it's a used pump. Now the first thing we're going to do is go inside the housing and remove the sharp edges where the oil flows on the inlet and outlet side, being careful not to touch the area where the O-ring seals for the pickup. We'll also take the G-rotor gears and dimple every single one of the lobes. Now this will create a pocket of oil between the gear and the actual thrust plate. Last, we're going to shim the spring to increase the pressure about 78 to 82 thousandths. Let's get started. We'll start with a die grinder with a carbide burr. The goal is to smooth out any sharp transitions in the casting. Go slowly and use a light touch. We're just softening the edges, and a heavy hand can do big damage fast. Next, we'll drop on a cartridge roll to smooth everything out. Now we have an OEM pump that flows more like an aftermarket one. The only cost was a few tools and a little bit of time. To dimple the G-rotors, we'll start with a center punch to help guide the drill bit. Then we'll use a 3/16 bit to make the first pass, followed by a 1/4 inch bit. So now that we have the gear dimpled, we're going to go ahead and sand it down because you don't want any of the high spots to catch the front of the thrust plate. So with a little flat surface, some sandpaper, and a little penetrating oil, we'll knock the edges right off. Now I'll go ahead and keep sanding this with the 500 grit sandpaper until the center stays black and quits coming off with the gray. That way we know the edge is knocked off. Looks good. Use plenty of assembly grease when rebuilding the oil pump. Once the G-rotors are in place and lubricated, secure the cover and use Permatex blue thread locker on the fasteners. We like the gel formula because it stays in place on the threads.
The bypass and spring drop back into place. We'll use a couple of washers to shim the spring. This will increase the spring tension, which will hold the bypass closed longer, therefore increasing the oil pressure in the pump. Coming up, the Vortec gets buttoned up, then feed on in the dyno cell.